Lead with Legacy, the official podcast of IOL Global. Here, we will explore leadership that outlives titles and trends. Through conversations with faith-based and marketplace leaders, we will discuss integrity, conviction, and purpose. To learn more about us, visit us at iolglobal.com. Hello, welcome back to the Lead with Legacy podcast. I'm super, super honored and blessed to be here today with Dr. Stephanie Saunders. And we're going to talk a little bit about who you are and what you do and where you come from. And we also have our Director of Operations, Sloane Lott, who I did say your name correctly this time. So, hey, bonus.
Thank you.
25 episodes to get there. I don't know what it is about that. But anyways, thank you for being on with us. You and Dr. Saunders know each other. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well and how you know each other and your connection there. Dr. Saunders, you don't know this, but I was actually at the recent graduation at Lyon College. Oh. And so a funny story with that, we were sitting there, me and a couple of people from our church, because one of the girls at our church was graduating. And so we were sitting there and my 6-year-old son was there with me and there was this big, huge silver trophy up front. And he said, "Who gets that trophy?" And I said, "Well, you know what? I don't think anybody does. I think it's just like for all the like stuff they put up there, you know?" And then about 15 minutes later, I got proved wrong because you won the trophy. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, look who won the trophy. She's supposed to be on the podcast." And so you actually, I was like, well, foot in mouth because somebody did win it. And so it's the Lamar Williamson Prize for Faculty Excellence. And it's quite large, about as big as you are.
Yes, they just delivered it yesterday.
Okay.
So it's right here. I'm staring at it, but I can't. It's a large, it resides in my office for a year. And it's very special because the legacy of it, because I recognize almost every name, on there.
Amazing.
So it's really, that part's really special.
That's amazing. And it's incredible to me, like how God orchestrates together things like that. Because it was just so funny. He's like, "I wonder who gets it." I'm like, "I don't think anybody gets it."
It's just decoration. Nobody gets it. But
well, that's what I thought, because they had a lot of stuff up there, and I'm like, I think it's just like. Anyhow, we were there. We saw you get it. That was maybe preordained. I don't know, because we had no idea. You were on the schedule. We had to kind of move things, and so pretty exciting. So. Thank you for coming on the podcast. We started this podcast because of Sloane and because of a
program at Lyon.
A program at Lyon. Yes. And so we can talk a little bit about that too. She had found that Ty King was coming and doing a speaking engagement there. And so we were like, let's go. And then we walked out and started a podcast. So that's what got us to here. So that's our ties to that whole thing kind of came full circle. So interestingly enough.
That's great. I love it.
So tell us, Dr. Saunders, who you are, what you do. Just tell us a little bit about you. You'll do that better than I will. So.
Well, thank you all so much for having me.
You're welcome.
It's an honor to be with you here this afternoon. So I'm an associate professor of Spanish at Lyon College and also the director of the Lyon Honors Fellows Program. So that is comprised of around 100 students from all majors and parts of the country and world. And so I get to work with a lot of fabulous students and faculty and community members. So.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Everyone was absolutely singing your praises at the graduation as well. And so you guys do some pretty. So for people who are listening in who are not from here, we're in Batesville, Arkansas. That's where Lyon College is, and it's been here since 18. What?
I should know this and I'm like, okay.
No, it's your quiz for the day.
That's my quiz. I want to say 76, but I'm gonna.
That sounds right. I think because one of the ladies that graduated just this spring, it was like her great grandfather, her grandfather, and her dad like had all graduated, and then she was graduating. Or some succession of that. That's probably not exactly right, but
1872. I think I had 76 because of the
and it was either her great or great grandfather was like one of the original graduating classes. Mm-hmm. And so it's very interesting. It was interesting to come and hear all that and see all that. And so, and then a long time ago, when my mom was still alive, we came out to the Scottish festival there. We have Scottish heritage and my mom heard about it and she wanted to go. And so we all dressed up and we went out and we had so much fun. It was amazing. So
it's a lot of fun. It really is. Yeah. When you have anything to do with Lyon bagpipes just really become part of your DNA. So
Yeah, absolutely.
my husband and I
It
were
is.
watching the news last night. They had a little snippet on the World Cup and the Scottish, fans that were traveling around with their bagpipe. I'm like, I know that song and that song, right? So we hear them often in the best of ways. So it's really
Yeah, you were already on it there. So yeah, and again, for those not knowing what we're talking about, the college has their own bagpipe. I don't even know what the proper.
yeah, yeah. The bagpipe. Well, it's a bagpipe band, and when I was
Okay,
a student here, we also I took Highland dancing. So when I
there you
came
go.
in 22, I came out of retirement for one of the events, and my knees hurt for a while afterwards, and I decided I might need to return to retirement for a Highland dancing. But
Or just do a lot of practicing, one or the
yeah,
other. A lot of practicing.
So
Very cool.
you have a rich history with Lyon. You you returned as a professor. You were once a
mhm,
student. I think
yes,
that is so cool, and that the value that you can add when you tell these college kids, "I know what you're going through." You
uh-huh,
do. You
I
were right there
really
on that
do.
very campus. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I think that's so cool, and it speaks a lot to the legacy of Lyon that you would choose to return in this capacity.
yes. Well, I hopefully I won't be emotional even talking about it, but yeah, it's a place I deeply love. I was actually born here in Batesville, but I wasn't raised here, and so I was raised in a small town about an hour away, and so I graduated from Lyon in two, and then just went on to live in Chile and Spain and Columbus, Ohio, and Lexington, Kentucky, and traveled to several different countries. And when the position came open, I had just received my letter for full professor where I was, and I loved very deeply where I was in Columbus, Ohio. But I told my husband, and it's like in the words of Elvis, I told him it's now or never. Like this is the time that and so we moved here, and it is exactly what you said, Sloan. It's that those conversations of being able to say I really have been in these same you know situations, and we still have many of the same traditions, like a raft race every year that the students build a raft with cardboard boxes, and there's a race to see which one all of them sink pretty much, but anyway, it's a lot of fun. And so all those kind of common experiences really bind everyone together. So
Yeah,
They
that's
really do,
amazing.
and that's just the rich history of Lyon, and it's a beautiful campus as
it
well.
is.
The Scottish Festival is great. It's worth driving to. It's worth the day trip. It's worth an overnight. Great food, great entertainment, great music. The games are wonderful. And then they have like these dog herding competitions. And
It
so
is so fun.
that's so fun. Yeah, I did not I'd never seen that before until I moved here to Batesville and I went to my first Scottish festival. And it was really great. Not only though did you go to Lyon, you were a first generation college student. Is that right?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
So how did that shape your journey?
Uh, so it's going to line. I always say it's like, you know, I have a joke of like that. I don't even know exactly how it goes. I don't even know my own joke. But anyway, it's like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. And I always say it's like that with Line. I could almost trace everything back in my career to what, the transformative experience that I had here. My parents, my father worked in asphalt, and my mother worked in the post office, but they were always very supportive of me going on to college. But, really, I had some high school mentors that were very kind, and they were actually a Lyon alum, but that walked me through some of the process. But it's made me so aware, of the plight of first generation students, because it is such a different, world when you're navigating it for the first time by yourself. But for me, it was one of just amazing conversations and getting introduction to new cultures and ideas, and the faculty was so warm and caring, and the staff. So it was really a perfect environment for me.
It really is. It's really warm. I love the events that I get to be a part of out there. It's fun to watch the college students interact with the faculty and staff, and you can see they're having a great time and it's genuine.
Uh-huh, absolutely.
And I love that. Did you know that you were always going to teach like Spanish and culture and literature?
It's a great question. I wanted to be a teacher ever since I was 5. And so I don't know, and that changed. I actually came to Lyon wanting to do mathematics, and I still love math and started that, but then I just really fell in love with Spanish and the literature, but and such. But and I've always been interested in other cultures, and so I had that professor that inspired me, and in the literature, I felt like it was so different, and it really opened me up to seeing the world in different ways, which was really exciting. I did a lot of volunteer work while I was here with the at that time very much kind of new Hispanic community. Now there, several generations and it's grown a lot, but I worked with different churches and everything doing volunteer work then. But so I changed my focus. I actually majored in Spanish and psychology, but then I went on to graduate school. But I love teaching. I had a moment in my life, probably early 30s, where I was like, maybe I just wanted to be a teacher because that was what I saw other women in my community. If they went to college, that was the career path, they were that or a nurse. And I took a very short step back from teaching, and then I missed it so much. I needed to go back. So it's really rewarding for me.
And so let's talk about, you were taking a summer trip with some not kids, but college students. Sorry. That's how old I'm getting. And so did you guys already do that? Or are you still about
Yes.
to?
Yes.
You already did. Okay.
We returned 16 students and another wonderful faculty, Dr. Monica Rodriguez. She was actually a professor of mine here. So it's really special to get to go to her home country of Peru. So we took them there and they were great. They were very open and adventurous. And some of the students, I've taken them on other domestic trips, and it was really fun to see them over the last couple of years grow in their really quest for adventure, like on trying new foods and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Especially, well, I was surprised too at the graduation that there were so many graduates from so many different places. I guess like I had in my mind, I think too, because like it's smaller here. I thought, oh, well, the people that go to Lyon are from Lyon, but there was people from all over the place. I mean, all over the world who were
You're
coming
absolutely
here.
right. Yeah.
And that was like, it was really, really interesting to me because I was like, oh, wow, like I never would have thought of that, So it's really interesting. And I was thinking about the trip when I was thinking about this podcast, is like if you guys had done it and how it went, because it sounded really, really interesting. Do the students, do they do that on scholarship or do they raise the funds or how does that?
We raised money. We did car washes and bake sales and T-shirt sales, and I had some support from some alumni and community members, and
very nice.
And they worked their way through, but it was a lot of fun. It was associated with a class that my colleague taught, and we went to Machu Picchu, a place that I'd wanted to visit since I was basically their age. So that was fun to experience that with them, and then came back and I was absolutely wiped out.
I imagine so. How long are you guys gone?
We were gone 10 days, but it was like graduation and then that Sunday, and then we left on Monday. So,
oh my goodness.
Right. Boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom.
but you were exhausted because the graduation in and of itself would have done you in, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a busy time of year for sure for teachers and professors. And yes,
it really does.
And you have a book, is that right? Sloane was telling me about the book. I haven't had the honor of reading it yet, but she has. And so we can talk a little bit about that. I'm interested to hear more about it. So
yeah. Sloane's been so supportive since before it was even accepted into publications. So I'm so grateful to her. And I just happen to have it. Yeah, I wanted to
fantastic.
So Covered Buttons, my first novel. I have a couple other academic books that I've written. My focus has always been on like textiles. The book titles always have something to do with fashion, and they often do have something to do with fashion, but a lot of times just really like the arts of sewing and embroidery, and kind of giving lots of agency to those really beautiful textile arts. But yeah, this is my first novel. and it's a historical novel set in the 1930s of the Ozarks. And the protagonist, Thea, she's 17 years old. Her mother's passed away, and her father remarries a woman named Helen Smith. And that marriage results in that bringing lots of new ideas into the household through her stepmother, who she becomes really close with, and also her step grandmother.
Nice.
And the cover of this novel is actually it's a picture of my paternal grandmother, and so that was really special. This is not a book of her life, but when I was young, I would sit for hours and just listen to her stories, and so it really got me interested in the time period and trying to. I did lots of research trying to fill in some of the what ifs and the blanks that as a child I wondered about, so.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. I'm
And
excited. I
it
want to
is
read it.
you should. It's a great book, and my sister-in-law said, "I wanna read your copy," and I said, "I'll buy you your own copy, but my copy is signed. It is to me, so you
Thank
cannot borrow my copy, but I will buy you a copy." It is so good. How long ago? I can't even remember. You came to me. I was, employed at our local public library here,
Uh-huh.
and that's actually where we met, and you were like, "I have this book. I'm working on it. Can I email you the link?" And I was like, "Sure." And so I'm reading through it, and you're just so humble, and you were like, It's just something I'm working on. It's not a" and I'm like, "This is really good. Like, you have to do this." And so I think you already knew it was a story that had to be told, that
Yeah.
people needed to read it and know about the history of the Ozarks and the women that lived here in that time, and so you knew it was going to have to happen, right? But it was so good, and it was so fun to get to read, and I loved it so much, I printed it out and I took it home and I'm just like flipping through the full size pages. My husband was like, "What are you doing over there?" And I'm like, I'm reading a book." So it was really great to be able to see your book published with it was bound and it was great and it was real book form. And so getting to read that again has been wonderful. And it's so special because I know the author and I know her heart behind it. And I know she was juggling a million different things while she was writing it. So
And
I think
thank
it's
you.
fabulous.
Thank
So
you. And I appreciate it because of that support. I oftentimes the imposter syndrome that we have of like, oh, I shouldn't be, doing this. And so my background is in literature, but it's not in, I don't have my MFA. And so it was in Hispanic literature. And so it's like this novel from start to finish, it was 13 years. And said I worked on many different things, I had a child, I had a career in that meantime, but it was, you never know when you tell people they can sometimes kind of blow you off, or
Yeah.
just like, oh, that's cute, that's sweet. So it's really nice that you know, cared from the beginning. And
Yeah.
so when I first talk with you and I really appreciate that support.
it was really good. When you are a librarian, you are asked to read lots of things.
I can imagine.
And that was one of the things you came to me with. You were like, "I'm sure people ask you all the time," and I'm like, "No, no, let me have it." And then you read it and you're like, "This is not first novel material. Like she's written 100 books and and you can tell that you are very well versed. You've written a lot." And so I really love it. And I love the title, Covered Buttons, and all of the chapter names have to do with sewing and it ties back into that very rich history of making your own clothes, right? Of living in the Ozarks and what you had to do and what you had to make do with. And so, we see the characters talk about the flour sacks, right? And they collect ones of the same pattern, hoping to have enough to make a child's outfit or whatever. So it doesn't look so mismatched. And it's just beautiful. It's just so rich historically on so many fronts. And if you are from Arkansas, you have to read it. That's just all there is to it. You
Well, I
need
can't
to.
wait because my mom actually sewed and wore flower sock dresses, and so that's interesting enough as it is to me. And I love to sew as well. I don't get to do it as much as I used to, but my mom was great about teaching me how to sew, to hand sew and to sew with a sewing machine. We sewed so many things when I was young, and I've kept them little pillows and Barbie doll clothes, and we had aprons that matched and all just pot holders, all kinds of things that we sewed together growing up. And it was a really important part of my growing up. that we did that, and learning how to put lace on and learning how to put buttons on and all of that was just really important. So intriguing to me for sure. And I wish I would have already gotten a chance to read it. We have also found that for whatever reason, a lot of people want us to look at their books lately. And so it's been an interesting kind of season of that. And it's been a blessing. And so we actually just got to publish through our company a book, like, I guess it's been about a month ago, which was pretty incredible and exciting. And so there's been a lot of books lately. So
It
not
really is.
sure what God's trying to tell me about books, but there's a lot
Yeah.
of
Maybe
books.
it's your turn to write one.
No, 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 no.
It might.
My mother was an author, though. I can't remember how many books, 6 or 7 books that she authored, and they're really good. She also wrote a lot for like articles and like Chicken Soup for the Soul and things like that.
Yeah.
And her and my dad did a series of children's books, and then she did some novels and things like that. And so yeah, I'm kind of steeped in it, but it was interesting, like a lot of different people coming at us at that angle. But this sounds like this is not a business book, and so this might be a little bit more more leisure. I can sit down. A lot of these are, and not in a bad way, but they're leadership books and things like that, and kind of more business focused. And so, although I do enjoy reading them because I'm kind of a nerd for stuff like that, I also love a good novel, and I haven't had one in a while. So this sounds like the one to go
Yeah,
with for
this
sure.
is definitely read it in the hammock with a cup of coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're gonna
Right.
love it.
Yeah, for sure.
So you already mentioned that Thea is the main character. And what do you want readers to take away from Thea's journey?
That's such a good question. I really hope empowerment, whatever that means. And so, she is empowered through friendships and stitches and books. Her stepmother very much introduces her to the world of books and reading and just being open to meeting new people and new ways of seeing the world, and how that often just really results in a lot of self-empowerment. I get to see it a lot with it. This is, I don't think I mentioned, but it's a coming of age story, and so it's a genre that I've always really loved. I love a good coming of age story. I still believe in it a lot. It's an
Yeah.
age where that I get to work with ages of students where they really get to see the world in all different types of ways. And
Yeah.
so that I hope readers see that those possibilities for empowerment and
It's
agency.
it's obvious if you just read the story, it is, and empowerment looks different for different people,
Mhm.
not just in the story, but in real life. Just being able to have the knowledge to be able to make informed decisions about different things. It is empowerment is different because we want and we need different things, and so I think you captured that beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's really, really nuanced and you've done it beautifully. Yeah. So why do stories about women imagining a different future still matter today?
Good question.
Yeah, that is a really good question. I think just talking going back to even my students, it's hard for me to sometimes untangle, their lives are so much a part of mine, but talking with young people so much we can be on a timeline, of what society thinks that we should do by this age and by this age. And oh my goodness, if I'm not there at that point, then it's all over with. I've missed the opportunity. And that just, I think that empowerment of allowing people to, I'm always telling them there's always more than one road or path to get
Mhm.
where you're going, and that journey is really the point. And so I think that empowerment, the doing, the being present, the being open to new ideas and meeting new people and reading new things, reading all the new books and all that kind of stuff, travel, all that stuff really for me it's a timeless message.
That's really good, and I like that a lot too because I think, looking back on my life, if I'd have done what I planned to do,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been the life that, God had designed for me. And I mean, there was a lot of ups and downs and lefts and rights and things like that, and a lot of poor decisions here and there. But at the same time, I think that I talked about this on another podcast. We were talking about it's the lessons that I've learned a lot of times by failing that I've learned more than I would have. I had in my head my whole growing up, I was going to be a veterinarian. That's what I wanted to be. That was the whole thing. Problem with that is I was terrible at math, and so that kind of put like a hinder. I could have used you back then, but I was a veterinary technician for like 9 years, and I loved it, and it was a beautiful season. I look back on it, and my son was asking me the other day, he was like, "Would you do that again?" I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I loved it, but I don't think it would be the same now as it was, because I started doing that when I was 15. And I don't think it would be the same now. I'm like, not the same body, not the same mind, not the same energy level and things like that. And I also had to lift a lot of really heavy dogs. And so
Yeah.
I think I can do that now.
One doesn't know the backstage part of
My gosh. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's
And I
not
was a surgery tech for a long time. And so most of those dogs were like knocked out. And
yeah.
so
Oh my
yeah, I
goodness.
don't think I could go back to that. But yeah, the point being that the journey, sometimes I think we're so lost in like what I want and what I want to achieve and what is this. And I think as women too, we have like these certain milestones in our head, like I must do this and I must do that and it must look like this, and I can be all the things all the time. And some of us can some of the time, but all of the time, I didn't have my son until I was 40 a month after he was born. So I'm very late in life mom. And, that bothered me for a long time. And now it's like, that's part of my testimony is like that. If I could not even imagine it being different than it happened,
Absolutely.
and him not being who he is. And I don't think he would be had it not been in the design of that. So I really like that you speak to that, because sometimes you're right. We were so lost in like, what is it that we're working towards, and we're not walking through the journey of it.
Absolutely.
And that was something that really, really kind of hit me about the time. Like I was pregnant with him about midway. My mom was battling cancer. My dad was in the hospital, and I was just juggling so many things. And once he was born, I literally, it was just a God thing, but I just literally let time stop and just soaked it up, and have really, really tried to do that. It's a little hard these days with everything, and he's getting bigger and more independent, and that's sad. And it's sad and happy and sad and happy.
But they make plenty of time for it. I walked into the office this morning and I was like, "What are y'all doing?" And they were like, "We're cuddling." He was just hanging out with his mom, and he just needed some mom
Yeah.
love. And
Yeah.
so, it's just precious, and I'm so thankful that she's at a place in her life where she gets to have this wonderful career that she's pouring into, and showing people the love of Christ through her career, but she's here for her kiddo, and he
Yeah.
knows it.
And I wouldn't have been, I mean, I can honestly say in my 20s, I wouldn't have been the same mom. I'm not saying I would have been a bad mom. Like, it just would have been very different. And so it's been a really unique opportunity for me to kind of step back and look at that and say, let's just sit down and cuddle. Like, we don't have to answer the email or talk on the phone or get in the meeting. I mean, there are things that are responsibilities, and we do have to do those things. But yeah, like 20-year-old me probably wouldn't have done that. Whereas 46-year-old me is like, hey, let's just sit down. Let's go in the pool, whatever. And so I had some friends when he was really young, like not funny story. He had like one of those, Sloan calls me a crunchy mom, and I don't really
She
still
is.
understand it.
She's a
But
crunchy
anyway,
mom.
he had some kind of yogurt thing that I had made him, because I made the yogurt and all this, and he spilt it on the floor. And he's like, we're just kind of standing there, and I was busy like moms get, and he just gets on the floor and starts licking it up. I was like, all right, well, it's got to get cleaned up either way. The floor was clean. But again, in my 20s, I would have panicked, and I was like, hey,
Yeah.
you can't do that, and you're going to get germs. And now I'm like, oh, no, the germs are good. Go get the germ.
Yeah, she is great. He will like holler out, and because I am not a mom, I'm just like, emergency. And she would tell me, "You'll know the difference. You'll know the difference. You'll know the difference." And then one day it was an emergency, and when he hollered out, she goes, "There it is. That's the difference." And she got up immediately from her desk and went, and he was fine, but he had scared himself quite well, and in the process scared us as well. But she's just so calm. She's like, "No, he's fine. No, he's fine.
It's okay.
Just ignore him. He's fine." But she's absolutely right. I knew the difference when I heard it. I did.
But I think that's applicable across a lot of different domains as well, because it's like, once you kind of get it, in certain respects and in different fields and things like that, it's like, well, this really isn't like the
Yeah.
stressor that you think it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This really isn't the panic that you think it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, you really, the maturity of it is such a blessing, right? Of just
I was
like,
telling
oh,
Sloan the other day, I was like, because she just had her birthday. I'm not going to say how old she is. She's had her birthday. And I said, listen, wait till you get to your 40s. You're going to love it. Your 40s are amazing. Like, there's something. And I was talking about this on another show too. Like, I distinctively remember the day that my mom turned 40. We were in her office and we talked about this on another show. It was still back when you like printed stuff and it was like still together and you printed like the banner,
yeah.
And I don't know what program, I can't remember what program it is, but I remember standing there looking at my mom going, oh my gosh, my mom is like ancient now. And I
Yes.
can't believe she's 40. And like 40s have been amazing for me. I love it. The best things have happened. It's just been really, really amazing. The mindset shift and the difference of just how I see things and like how it's not that I don't ever panic or freak out or anything like that, but it's definitely a different perspective in life than
Yeah,
I had
for
before.
sure. No, and this novel has a lot, Sloan can tell you, but of motherhood in it. And I was 37 when I had our daughter, and
Nice.
had started this before I was a mother. And then, I did not set out to write this novel. I was a different one, but it is that of, showing up every day for something and how that one transforms. And so there is 9 chapters and then a preface and an epilogue that is basically like, I had this Saturday waha moment of, this is going to, because I was having trouble with the structure. I was like, no, this is going to reflect like carrying a child, like the term
Very
of,
nice. I like
so
that. Yeah.
that was kind of, my way of organizing it, but it definitely informed a lot of the writing and just, the way that I changed and saw things over the
Very
last
nice. I'm
several years.
very excited to read it. Yeah, absolutely.
It is really good. Returning back to those journeys we're on, where they don't go the way we thought, or we have a hiccup or even a big being older, when someone goes through those things and I can say, "You know what? I know you think this is the
Yeah.
end of the
This
world.
is
Right.
this is it. Yeah.
I know you think this is devastating. Nothing is ever going to be okay. I know it feels like that.
Yeah.
And it's okay to sit in it for a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. And
Yeah.
you're going to get through it. I've been through the same thing, or I've been through similar, or, just being able to tell people, trust me, no one is thinking about this as much as you are. It took me a long time to realize that. What I thought, oh my goodness, what is everybody saying? What does everybody think? And nobody even knew.
They're thinking about their own self.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
For
so to
sure.
be able to share that with younger, especially younger women, our young college girls and young high school. Amanda mentors several high school girls and in our church, and it comes down to, it's not as bad as you think. This might have been the worst thing you've been through because you're 17, but
Exactly.
trust me, and you don't want to tell them, oh, it gets worse,
Make it work.
but
Yeah.
but you
17
do
was
want
a
to.
breeze
Yeah,
compared.
you do want to say, you need to learn from this and grow from this, because the challenges are going to be harder,
Absolutely.
and so you need to use this as a moment, as a springboard where you're stronger for
Absolutely.
worse in the future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, and in all truth, like I can look at it now and go, 17 was amazing. Like 17 was great. But at 17, it was not. You know what I
So
mean? At
hard.
17, it
Yeah.
was the world was falling apart and so broke up with me. And what am I going to do? And who am I going to go to prom with? And blah, 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 all
Yeah.
the things. And so in its own right, in its own season, it had its own, things to walk through. And so does this season as well. And so I think a lot of it is just really learning how to navigate, like, this is a different season. This is a different scenario. And like Sloan said, probably nobody even is thinking about you and what
Yeah.
you have going on,
Yeah.
and they really don't care. And the ones that do, they probably need to take a step back.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Something's up there. Yeah. I have
absolutely.
a framed picture that a student, when I came here, a student from my previous institution, it says, we find our path by walking it. And I look at it, every day. I'm like, it's so beautiful.
Yeah,
True. I often tell my students, you have to show up. Like, you have to show up to what you really want to devote yourself to every day and see what happens. Just show up, just be there, spend the time, because we really get good at what we spend the time. And, but that journey, you can't cut it out. You can't like make it go faster. Yeah, it has to be
or
that.
slower, or because like
Yeah,
with my son, like I was thinking about this the other day. It was like there's so much of me that's like I really wish I could just slow down time and keep him as a baby. And I know this is like everybody goes through this at some point, but then it's like I love seeing him grow. He's learning how to read now, and it's so much
yeah,
fun, and we're just like
yeah.
really enjoying it and just sitting down and reading a book. And so I don't want to trade. It's like it's that weird kind of limbo that you're in. It's like, oh, I don't really want to go backwards, but I'm not really sure I'm ready to go forward. And so it's really just sitting in it and embracing like this is it. This is 6 years old and this is what it looks like and this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna try to embrace it where it is. And I think we can apply that to our own lives. Like this is where I'm at right now. This is the season. This is where God has me. And I'm gonna just embrace the walk that I'm walking right now. And yeah, but it's hard, isn't it? It's hard when we're in the middle of it to
It,
go, "Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be content with this and
yes,
okay
yes,
with this." And especially as women, like as we change, like there's so many changes mentally, physically, emotionally, like we go through so many changes. And so it's
absolutely.
hard to go, "Oh yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with my body being this when it used to be that." Like different, just different, or even our
Change is
minds.
hard, even if it's a good change. It's still just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a challenge for
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I do want to briefly touch on literacy in our community. I know that's important to you. I know that you did serve on the Friends of the Library board here.
yeah.
Are you still a
I'm
part of
still
it?
on our board. Yes, yes,
Okay,
yeah.
so
I'm
I know that's at least one literacy advocate group that you're a part of. Why do you think literacy is such an important part of community life?
Yeah, it, that's such a good question. I feel like with literacy, freedom comes fulfillment. It's had such an impact on my own life. And I grapple with this often, like what is the importance of books and reading? And I recently heard, I believe I often quote George Saunders, an American author, and I have to always do a silly joke that, we're not kin despite our common last name. Unfortunately, I don't have any, to this great legacy, but he, talked about how like can books make us more empathetic? Can they make us more compassionate? Well, maybe right after we read it or in that moment, right? And so even if it's for a brief time of us, being able to understand a different reality than what we're living, I think it, helps us to become more compassionate people, make more informed decisions and reactions, those kinds of things. And literacy, I mean, just on a level of being able to give everybody a chance to find a work that's fulfilling and be able to be independent, to fill out forms, all the little, to the minute details too. So not
Sure.
just the grand scheme of how important and liberating that I think reading is, but just also on being able to be independent and working through those important tasks. So
Yeah, that's so true. And too, like encompass in that is the ability to know things that you would not otherwise know. Now, like it's a whole nother rabbit trail. We have, the internet and AI and all of that, but there's so much fulfillment in learning from a book, whether and I don't mean just like an academia type of book. I'm talking any like the book that you've written, learning things that we would otherwise know or be exposed to if we hadn't read that material. My dad is a doctorate of education, and so I was, of course, like immersed in education growing up, and reading was very important. Lots of handwriting was very important. I think that's also a part of it too. It's a
it
lost
is.
skill,
I agree.
and so we homeschool, and so that's big part of our curricula is handwriting and cursive writing and things like that because it helps with so many different things with your, ability to understand what you're reading and what you're writing and things like that. And that was instilled. I cannot tell you how many of those books with the lines that my dad had me write and write and write and write. Just I can remember laying on the floor writing them. But it's so important because we can in a good way, in an entertaining way, we can be drifted away into a land that we never knew existed, and
Absolutely.
we can learn things that we never knew we could learn or weren't available to us, and still. And I think we got kind of lost. We've been lost as a society for a while in the technology. Well, you can just watch the movie, or you can just look it up, and you can watch it on YouTube, and all those things are great in their own right. But I think there's something to picking up a book. I love old books. And my son is just like a big part of our lives, obviously. But he's so funny. We were at church the other day, and one of the ladies there has set up a library in the church, and it's so cool. And so they have a whole bunch of Bibles, and she was telling the younger kids, like, if you want a Bible, you can go get a Bible. And she and my son are, like this. And so she said, "Can I take him over there?" I said, "Yeah, take him over there, and whatever he wants is fine." And she kept trying to get him to take a new one. And he picked like this, it was not from 1974,
Right.
this old Bible. And she's like, she came back and she was all worried. She's like, "I tried to give him a new one." I was like, "Oh no, he won't do that."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Look at this. It's amazing. It's like, this is the most amazing thing ever." And she's like, "He just loves it." I'm like, "Yeah, that's how, yeah." We like the smell of it, the look of it, the way it feels.
Really? Well,
And
that's us, and my daughter's birthday last year was I Love Lucy, so we often have
I love that. Yeah.
stores together and everything, but I wanna touch on what you were talking about with handwriting
Yep.
because it is so important, just like any kind of historical research. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't know how to read that stuff, it's like going to be impossible. But for the last 23 years of teaching, I'm always telling students, that encouraging them to write to be able to learn. And that's how, like, I got through my doctoral studies. But the really neat thing that was how I really cracked the code on being able to. I'd read so many authors talk about writing longhand their novels,
Mhm.
and I had not started that way. I'll never not start that way now, but I started with Word and trying to, but then you get so rigid in those words on the page versus how different it flows with
Yes.
the written words. So it is something very, you know, I want to say magical. It's not magical. I know there's lots of research behind it, right? That
But
connection
it
and
is. I think that it is. And again, that goes back to like the journey of it, right? When I was young and my dad had me writing and all, I can't remember what
yeah,
those things are called, but we have some too. But he had me writing all that and practicing and all that. At the time, it was like, "Oh, this is terrible." But now I'm so grateful that
yes,
I can put pen to paper and I can
yeah,
write things down. And I still very
you
much, we
can
use a
read it.
lot of AI tools. We do a lot of technical work and things like that. But I still, you can ask Sloan, there's probably 5 notebooks on my desk where I'm making different
At
notes
least,
and
at
studying
least.
different things. Yeah. And I'm like, let's get more notebooks
Yeah.
and good pens or something
Well,
to a
there's
good
something so
pen.
special about a good, notebook.
Yeah.
She's a pen junkie. She turned me on to my new favorite pen that's got like a fidget roller ball in it, but it looks classy. I'll send you the link to the
Yeah.
Amazon link. Uh, it's great. I'm not affiliated. I won't make any money from it, but you should
I
you
understand.
should have these pens. But one of I think handwriting is magical.
Yeah.
And I think also carrying a physical book
Yes.
is
Yeah.
magical. So
Yes.
I had taken your book. I had an allergy appointment in Little Rock and I was going to go in for an allergy injection. And so I go in and the nurse calls my name and I get up and I've got my book in my purse. And so I go in and she's like, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, "My friend wrote this book." And so I'm telling her all about it. And she was like, "Oh, yeah, can I write down the title and the ISBN?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it's on Amazon." And she was like, "That's great." And so then I'm leaving my appointment and this girl said, "Are you reading that?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." And she said, "Well, I've seen it. I've read something online about it." And I was like, "Well, I know the author and you should get it." But it
Right.
was so cool because had it been something I was reading on my phone,
Sloan, yeah,
yeah, those are 2 interactions I would have missed with
exactly.
fellow book junkies. Yeah, and so they just wanted to they were like, "Oh, we know you're not here to talk about books, but can we talk about books?" And I'm like, "I'm always here to talk about books, no matter what's going on." And so it's fun and there is something magical about handwriting and a physical book and storytelling and
Absolutely.
literacy, the power
Yes.
that literacy provides. And it is like you said, there's lots of science and stats to back it up, but there is something magical.
Yeah.
There
Yes. I was
absolutely
gonna look for, actually, I have it right here. One of the first drafts. I knew I would, but
Oh, I love it.
these are, but the pages, this is covered buttons in one of its bazillion
Very nice.
forms, but just all handwritten out. But it feels different. And these are from Walmart. They also, I'm not sponsoring them, but I love them because they lay flat
Lay
and
flat.
it has
You
pages about
see, now you got me
220 words.
another notebook.
Yeah, has a nice. So yeah,
Yeah,
Very nice, yeah.
that is
My
nice.
mom was she also journaled, and so when she passed away, one of the things that we talked about while I took care of her for several years, and one of the things we talked about, she was like, "Don't let anybody have my journal."
that
And I was like,
I
"Okay,
get.
okay."
Yeah,
I had no idea how many there were. I mean, we're talking
that's so
probably a
special.
couple hundred. And so
Wow.
sometimes I try really hard. It's still kind of raw, so I'll try to sit down and read them. And I'm like, no, I can't read that right now. But
Yeah,
it's really cool because she was so good. I mean, like my whole life is, in her life and my brother's life and my dad's life, my grandparents is all just like written in these pages and
that's
her
so special.
handwriting, and like what a treasure. You can't,
No,
that's not something that you can produce. I mean, again, still kind of hard for me to sit down and go, but every once in a while I'll pick one up, and I
yeah,
and the kids will have that as well, and the grandkids, and it's a tradition I think that's gone, and it's so good that she did that. I try. I'm not very good at it, but I try. But yeah, really interesting to have things like that. My grandmother did the same thing, so we have a lot of journals and stuff from
that's
hers. That's
lovely.
really
That's
yeah,
really
really, and
great.
she was an artist, and so she did a lot of drawings and things that we have of hers. So, yeah, I think I'm again a big proponent of computers and all the
Mhm.
technology and things, but I think going back to the root of it, like just the real raw, let's put it on a piece of paper, and there's so much value to that. So
There is.
Yeah, I have my students journal often, and it's just I feel like I get to know them in such
yeah,
a way, and it really
yeah,
does, it helps, of course, with language skills and also just, I think, processing so many things and kind of slowing us down. We always want to be so fast, but
yes,
there's certain pace that it slows us down. And I'm saying all this, and I have my mother would tell you I have the worst handwriting. Like she just is abashed. No matter how much practice, it never got any better. So, but
I vacillate between the two. Like sometimes I'll write really, really nice and neat and do really, really well. And the other times, if I get really passionate about what I'm writing, then I'm writing in like half print, half cursive, half something else. I don't know what it was. And so it just depends on kind of like what I'm writing at the time.
You can
Really, what?
definitely determine her mood as you're reading how it's going.
Yeah.
When you're like, "Oh, here we go." So
intense. Yeah.
I
you
might be crying, and so it's like
yeah,
running out.
yeah.
You,
So
you know.
it's spoiler alerts. Well, Dr. Stephanie, we so thank you, and we wanna
Yeah.
respect your time. Not really, I wanna talk all day, but I'm going to respect your time. We've got 2 questions that we ask everybody that come on that joins us on the podcast, and so, Miss Amanda, can I ask the first one and you ask the second one?
Absolutely. Sure.
Okay. Name a leader you admire and share briefly how they've influenced you.
I have a couple of leaders here from Lyon, Dr. Melissa Tavner and Cassia Oliveira. Just the compassion that they lead with, and patience and humor. I always tease that I write quite a bit about humor, and I'm not funny, but I feel like it's such an important part of just helping to move forward, and that those are some really important qualities for a leader to have.
Absolutely.
They are.
Alright.
I enjoy my CEO's sense of humor. I can tell you
Yeah.
that. And the
We don't call
compassion
that we
with
don't
which
call it
she
sense of
leads
humor,
me.
we call it sarcasm, and
Oh,
it's
well,
not
it's funny as long as it's not directed at me. I laugh.
not it's not the best attribute to have. I do not recommend it.
She's
I don't
working on it. She's working on it.
I don't know if you know who Jen Wilkins is, but she does some pretty amazing like Bible study workbook kind of things, and I've done a lot of them between a couple of different affiliations and stuff. And she talks in one of them. She does videos, and she does incredible. Like her team is incredible in instructional design, which is where my heart is. So I kind of like extra love her because of that. But in one of the videos, she talks about how sarcasm is like not a virtue, and I was like, huh?
Doggone it,
I
yeah.
know, because she was like, it's a thing that I'm very sarcastic, but I think she's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh dang, you kind of just bursted my bubble on that one, but thanks. So because I was kind of killing it at the sarcasm, but I'll stop. So, you know, I haven't yet, but I also like I really truly did. I can say this in all honesty to my children that I did invent rolling eyes. My mother told me so a million times. I'm very good at it. My children are also very good at it. And so I'm like, I taught you that. You can't really use that against
You
me.
can't
So
use it, yeah.
also not a good attribute to have. So because sometimes you do that when you're not supposed to. So you get really used to it and then you do it when you're not supposed to. So okay, well, first of all, it's been amazing to have you on. I've again anticipated meeting you ever since you won this incredible trophy that you won, which might go along with the question that I have to follow up with. But when you think, I think you've already done part of this, and many of the guests that we have already have. But it's a great question. When you think about your legacy, what lasting impact do you hope to have?
I hope to be remembered for caring deeply about my students and the community.
Mm.
It's things that throughout the years of teaching, if I get a teaching evaluation and says something about she cared about each one of us. And I love that because it's not like she cared about me. Now they're saying that I care, have
Right.
a deep concern for each one of them, and hopeful that that's always modeled because I just feel like our world needs more of that. I teach language, and I feel like that is, helping us to understand each other better,
Sure.
know how
Yeah.
challenging it can be to learn another language and culture. But the real gift about the last several years is I've had students come back and they're like, "Oh, Profe, I've learned to quilt. Look at the." I had a student from, sending me a picture of a pair of pants that she had made,
Amazing.
and now I have students that, will write me messages about creativity and how I help to foster that. So those are like added gifts that I didn't, set out, that I hope that, that people can to have a contribution as the legacy of fostering their creativity and specifically with, textile arts and writing and in those areas of kind of the slow arts and slowing down
Yeah.
and that I think make life just more enjoyable. So,
Yeah.
it really helps society, but also us as individuals. So
And it's good too when you have an idea in your head and you're surpassing that, right? And I think you are, like, from all accounts, from everything that I hear and everything that I've learned about you. I think that you're already like past that point, but you're already doing it and you've already left a legacy for a lot of people. And what an incredible legacy to leave in writing this book and carrying on the traditions of your family and the legacy of your family. And that's a beautiful thing in and of itself. So what
thank
an honor to have you on. I mean, we're so close, so I hope to meet you in person someday soon. A
thank
lot of
you.
the people we have on here are like all over the place, and so like the chances of us meeting are pretty slim. But I do hope to meet you in person soon. Sloan, thank you for introducing us and how
Yes. I
putting all
told
this
you
together.
you'd love her. I've
Yeah,
been
absolutely.
every day I'm like, "You're gonna love her. You're gonna love her. You're gonna love her." And so I'm just so thankful that you said yes when I asked you to come on. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. But yeah, we'll go get coffee all together and
Yeah,
we'll
that would be
just
great. I would love it.
That
Yeah,
hang
would be
out. Yeah,
wonderful.
that would be
that
fun.
would be
We're
great.
gonna put your information down the bottom of the video. We'll put a link to your book and how to connect with you and everything, and so that people can find that and go buy it and read it and then give a review and let us know how it is. And I'll do the same. I'm
Thank
excited.
you.
Yeah, no, it's an honor, honestly, truly. So
Well,
thank you for
thank you
being
for the
on.
work that you all do, and also you're just both joys to talk
Thank
with.
you.
So,
Yeah,
it's just
thank
great.
you. It's been great. I really appreciate it. And for those listening, shameless shout out, like, subscribe, all those things. We've been very blessed. We have no idea why we're doing this, but we're doing it, and so it's really just to have conversations with people like you and talk about the past and the present and what's value add and what are we learning as we move forward and things like that. So what a blessing to have you on and to talk about those things. And so thank you very much.
Thank you. Hope you
Thank
all have
you.
a beautiful rest of your day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.